Let's begin.
Burn, ungodly filth!
What do you want? To make you ours or to make you despair?
Spirit Blade Productions presents...
Do you have any idea how much I will make you suffer? The horrific agony that I will inflict.
Spirit Blade, Dark Ritual.
Hell will be a refuge for you when I'm finished. For more information, visit spiritblade.com.
Christians are doing all kinds of things on the internet these days. Some things are cool, some things are strange. I'd like to tell you about what I found Christians doing on this internet. Welcome to the Christian Geek Radar.
Hey guys, Peter Franson here from christiangeekcentral.com and Spirit Blade Productions. Time to give you your Christian Geek Radar covering the months of both May and June. I was extra busy recently, and so I missed a month, but I'm going to get you caught up on some of the highlights, at least, for me as I was kind of looking through what came out in the world of Christian geekery online, what kinds of announcements and events, and mostly releases is usually what I focus on with the Christian Geek Radar. And this might be all books this time. There's just a ton that went on that it was the wrong time of year for me to miss a month. So anyway, I'm going to recommend where you can get more information than just what I'm sharing here at the end. But for now, let me just highlight some of the ones that kind of floated to the top out of the avalanche of news in the world of Christian geek novels. The first one is by author J.R. Cassell. The book is titled Blood and Water, the Lionheart Province, and this is the Chronicles of Albernium, Book 1. The description reads, Cardia's father taught her that with a little bit of hope, nothing was impossible. So Cardia held on to the hope that someday her family would have full bellies again. She dared to hope that one day her old friends would start being kind to one another. And more than anything, she hoped that eventually her beloved town would find a way to revive itself before the new regent of their province came to visit. Because as it was, her family had to forage for scraps to survive. Her friends treat each other as enemies, and if the regent arrived to find Goya in its current state, he would end up casting everyone out of their homes and off his land. Then it happened. Her hope was finally to be rewarded. A visitor came to town with a strange request. Dada traded a portion of his land to a man covered with tattoos in return for a vast amount of gold coins. With their new riches, her family had plenty to eat and a fine home to live in, and her beloved Goya began to thrive once again. One problem. The contract stated that the sorcerer got everything that was on the traded parcel of land at the time of the transaction, which included Cardia. The crafty sorcerer was after Cardia and her Sano healing powers all along. Cardia must find a way out of the contract before the allotted time is up, or their good fortunes and answered wishes will end up costing the townspeople of Goya their freedom, and Cardia her life. So again, that is Blood and Water by J.R. Cassell. Next up, a familiar name to many of you maybe, Ted Dekker released The 49th Mystic, which has a connection to his Circle series, but from what I understand, it's not necessary to have read the Circle series, but if you do, you'll maybe get a little bit of another layer out of this one. Let's look at the description here. It says, welcome to a wild new journey of discovery set in the worlds of the Circle, black, red, white, green. Those are the names of the books in that series if you're not familiar with them. It doesn't require reading those books, but will add layers of meaning for those who have. It all begins with the 49th Mystic, a wild quest story that will draw you in and refuse to let you go. Some say the great mystery of how one can live in two worlds at once died with Thomas Hunter many years ago. Still others that the gateway to that greater reality was and is only the stuff of dreams. they are wrong. In the small town of Eden, Utah, a blind girl named Rachel Matthews is about to find out just how wrong. When a procedure meant to restore Rachel's sight goes awry, she begins to dream of another world, so real that she wonders if Earth might only be a dream experienced when she falls asleep in that reality. Who is a simple blind girl to have such strange and fantastic dreams? She's the prophesied one who must find and recover 5 ancient seals in both worlds before powerful enemies destroy her. If Rachel succeeds in her quest, peace will reign. If she fails, both worlds will forever be locked in darkness. So begins a 2-volume saga of high stakes and a mind-bending quest to find an ancient path that will save humanity. The clock is ticking. The end rushes forward. So again, that's the 49th Mystic by a New York Times best-selling author, Ted Decker. Next up, J.S. Earls, who I've interviewed on the, well, at the time it was called the Spirit Blade Underground podcast, but J.S. Earls wrote, or actually he adapted the graphic novel for the upcoming movie Meg, about the giant megalodon. Is that what the word for it is? Megalodon or megalodon? I don't know. Giant, super huge shark, prehistoric shark, and so this is the graphic novel adaptation of that screenplay. And the description reads, a beautifully illustrated graphic novel based on New York Times best-selling author Steve Alten's novel, and soon to be a major motion picture directed by John Turteltaub and starring Jason Statham as Jonas Taylor. Once a Navy deep-sea submersible pilot, now a marine paleontologist, Dr. Jonas Taylor is convinced that a remnant population of Carcharodon megalodon, prehistoric sharks growing up to 70 feet long that subsisted on whales, lurks at the bottom of the Mariana Trench. When offered the opportunity to return to those crushing depths in search of the Meg, Taylor leaps at the chance. But the quest for scientific knowledge and personal vindication becomes a desperate fight for survival when the most vicious predator that the Earth has ever known is freed to once again hunt the surface. This graphic novel is illustrated by superstar artist Mike S. Miller, artist of George R.R. Martin's Game of Thrones prequel The Hedge Knight graphic novel and the #1 best-selling digital comics series DC Comics Injustice. All right, so that is Meg, which has been adapted to graphic novel by J.S. Earls, Christian author J.S. Earls. That's why I keep saying J.S. Earls. If you're like, why does he keep talking about J.S. Earls? All right, let's see here. Stephen R. Lawhead released in the, in the region, what's this? In the region of the summer star, is it? Okay, in the region of the, okay, I got it. The layout on the on the cover was throwing me for a little bit. Anyway, in the region of the summer stars, Stephen R. Lawhead. The description reads, ravaged by barbarian Skalda forces, Airlandia's warring tribes must find a way to resist their common enemy. Wrongly cast out of his tribe, Connor embarks on a dangerous quest to prove his innocence and to save his people. What he discovers about the Skalda threatens the fractious people of Airlandia, and the Fae who inhabit their islands as well. That if the fairies perish, then Airlandia truly will be destroyed. Stephen R. Lawhead has a long history in the world of Christian sci-fi or fantasy fiction. I remember all the way back in junior high, I want to say like late 80s, early 90s was when I read his Dragon King trilogy, which surprised me at the time with some of the graphic violence in it. I was like, what? This is a Christian author? What in the world? You know, so, and I would say he's probably most well known for his kind of fantasy type stuff, or he's written like Avalon oriented type of fantasy as well. And so anyway, yeah, he's definitely been around for a long time. If you've never checked out Stephen R. Lawhead stuff and you want to kind of get a primer on the history of Christian fantasy specifically, then or modern Christian fantasy, I should say, then that's a name definitely worth checking out. And again, the name of that most recent release from Stephen R. Lawhead, In the Region of the Summer Stars. Next up, an author that may not be as familiar to you, Annie Douglas Lima and her book Heartsong. The description reads, 2 alien worlds, 1 teen emissary. No reality she can trust. 13-year-old Liz Smith has been ripped away from one foster family after another for years. So the idea of a permanent home is tantalizing. Who cares if that home is a colony 65,000 light years from Earth? The friends in her trusty e-reader will keep her company just fine on her interstellar relocation. But when the adventure of a lifetime turns into the disaster of the cosmos, Liz can only retreat so far into the books that have always sheltered her from loneliness and loss. Trapped in half-truths and secrets that leave her questioning reality, can one orphaned bookworm find a way to stop 2 races from destroying each other, and somehow write a happy ending to her own story? If you like books about space travel, aliens, or cross-cultural transitions, you'll love this poignant science fiction adventure. Again, that's Heartsong by Annie Douglas Lima. And then also, if you haven't heard about this before now, the first issue of Lawhead, a free PDF magazine specifically for Christian fans, or I should say fans of Christian sci-fi and fantasy, or maybe just Christian geeks in general, has been released, and the topic, the articles include why Jesus people need Christian fantastical stories, and then there's some flash reviews. They're starting a book club. Let's see what else. There's an article, The Magic is Real. James L. Rubart's stories explore a Christian's fantastic and redeemed identity in Jesus. And then, full disclosure, I've contributed some writing to this as well. There's a recurring article, or recurring segment called Fan Servants, and the title of this go-around is Christian Geeks Rejoice in Your Strange Gifts, where I contributed to talking about just feeling like an alien a little bit in the local Christian church, and how we can and should still rejoice in how God has made us, even if we feel like, oh, I don't fit in, I'm not gifted in the same way as this other person is, So anyway, I really enjoyed sharing some thoughts on that. And then also some thoughts about what if your kids don't read fantasy. Marian Jacobs writes an article, and in the what do you call that? Not the byline, the little catchy in bold thing that they put at the top. I should have been much more prepared for this. Anyway, at the top it reads, "Entertainment is too shallow a word for the blessings fantasy can bring to our hearts." So anyway, this is a free resource for Christian fans of sci-fi and fantasy. So I want to recommend that you check out Lawhead at lawhead.com. All right, finally, Jill Williamson released King's War, which is book 3 in the Kingsman Chronicles. The description reads, "One battle is over, but the war has just begun. Those who escaped the destruction of the 5 realms have found a home, but they still cannot find peace. The aftermath of the Battle of Sirikar should have been a time to mourn those lost in the slaughter. The enemies of Armenia are many, however, and just when one steps back to regroup, another presses forward in an attack. While the remaining remnant must take responsibility for the evil they brought to Eretz, it would seem that something just as dark already existed in this new world. The growing struggle between Armenia and Barthel Rogadoth is but a pale reflection of a far more dangerous battle for the souls of humanity." And so begins this awe-inspiring conclusion to Jill Williamson's Kinsman Chronicles. Anyway, you can get more if you go over to jillwilliamson.com. Again, the book King's War, book 3 of the Kinsman Chronicles. There was so much, my gosh, you guys, in the last 2 months that came out, that was announced in the world of Christian geek novels. So I want to recommend that you go over and visit the YouTube channel of Adam Collings. He is one of the primary resources that I check to see kind of what the latest releases are and stuff like that. He also covers announcements and stuff. I tend to just cover in the things that are just released that you can go and get now, but he'll cover like some interesting announcements and news and stuff as well in the world of Christian geek publishing, as well as a bunch of releases that I just did not really have time to cover here. So again, if you go over to youtube.com and then look up Adam Collings, you can get just some great video resources on the world of Christian geek publishing. Publishing. So, all right. That's it this time around, guys. Stay tuned next month for more Christian Geek Radar. In the meantime, I hope you'll join us over at christiangeekcentral.com as we continue to geek out and seek the truth.
Let's begin.
Burn, ungodly filth.
What do you want to make you ours or to make you despair?
Spirit Blade Productions presents
Do you have any idea how much I will make you suffer? The horrific agony that I will inflict.
Spirit Blade Dark Ritual.
Hell will be a refuge for you when I'm finished.
For more information, visit spiritblade.com.